Hi everyone, it's Pedz and here's my final verdict. Today the game I'll be giving my verdict to is Pokémon Shield. Yep, I'm going McGrookie. Do you really wavy stick at people to make them stop crying? You dirty bastard. I played through it, collected all 400 Pokemon. Well, I say I collected all 400 Pokemon. I have the data for all 400 Pokemon. Some of the Pokemon I don't actually have, like Zacian. But whether this is the final verdict is up for debate. Will I look back and look at the game and talk about it when its DLC is out? And revise my opinion overall? Who knows? We look at the gameplay to start. Pokemon battles haven't changed a lot, at least on the surface, since the first game. After Generation 1 you had double and triple battles, which are pretty self-explanatory. Held items, which are items that you give to your Pokemon to hold. During battle, they can either do something like heal every turn, or when your Pokemon's low on health, give you a big boost. Abilities are also one of the biggest additions to Pokemon. And then you have the more gimmicky additions, which are Mega Evolutions and Z moves. Pokemon Sword and Shield haven't really added anything as significant as the earlier titles. They do have their gimmick to their battles, which is Dynamaxing. Dynamaxing is using an ability to make your Pokemon a giant. It only lasts 3 turns, so thinking tactically could be a wise decision on when to use it. To be honest, I never needed to during the game. I Dynamaxed whenever I felt like it, or when nearing the end of the game, I didn't bother with some fights. I think Dynamaxing is going to be more of a strategic play in the online and competitive scenes. Along with Dynamaxing, there are Max Raids, which you fight a Dynamax Pokemon that has 5 levels of difficulty. Max Raids are generally tougher than normal wild Pokemon encounters, and they add multiplayer to the battles. You plus 3 other people or AI controlled characters take on the Max Raid. Winning these means that you can catch the Pokemon, get special candies, items and TMs. Also in the Max Raid you can encounter Gigantamax Pokemon. Gigantamax Pokemon are similar to Dynamax, but they have a different form to Dynamax and also unique moves. The raids are actually rather fun, and as only one of you can Dynamax your Pokemon and it only lasts 3 turns, going up against a level 5 Pokemon can be interesting as to when either you use the Dynamaxing or you wait and someone else does it. As I said, the battles are largely unchanged other than Dynamaxing. It's the same traditional turn-based battles. For those unfamiliar with Pokemon, the battles are pretty simple. You throw out your top Pokemon from the 6 you have on you. While fighting another Pokemon, you can choose between 4 moves. The Pokemon with the highest speed attacks first, and you go from there. You can use items, switch Pokemon, or if fighting wild Pokemon, you can try to catch them or run if you're in trouble. All will take a turn, and you can fail to escape the fight. The battles are pretty simple in general, but you have typing of the Pokemon. For example, 3 types of grass, water and fire. Grass is super effective against water, water against fire, and fire against grass. It adds a tactical element to the game, making sure that you use the right monsters at the right times. Again, it's something that's always been a part of the Pokemon franchise. You also have various stats and things called IVs, EVs, and natures, which determine things like attack and speed and so on. People who play the game competitively are the ones most likely to get any real benefit from these, as they'll want to take the best Pokemon with perfect stats into battle. Combat is still enjoyable enough, and using the right or wrong moves can make for an interesting or very tense fight that can come close on occasion. I'm going in the forest, dude. Is the way out. Fucking way out. Ah, that's better. Battles are pretty static. Pokemon don't really do much when waiting around to take turns, and when they actually attack, the Pokemon may move forward slightly, an effect will happen, like a claw mark or a bit of lightning or something similar. Visually, the battles can get very interesting with various effects and styles and types of attacks. More so when things have Dynamaxed or Gigantamaxed. Some of the attacks just look really cool in general, and are pretty unique in their style. Take the attack Max Phantasm. When you use it, you have loads of furniture appear with a dark around them. This then goes around the opposing Pokemon and slams into them. The overworld is generally good looking. Yes, some things are graphically lower quality, for example, certain trees that look awful, but generally speaking, the overworld is good visually. Gameplay in the overworld, along routes and in towns and cities, is pretty standard to how Pokemon has been. You have a fixed camera. There are some people about. Larger places have more buildings, but a lot that you can't go in. And smaller places tend to have a few houses about. A Pokemon Center where you can heal your Pokemon and buy items is standard for every village, town or city. In addition to that, you'll find the towns and cities are where to find gyms and take on gym leaders. This is the game's story focus. You, as a character, want to become the Pokemon champion. Though every game has a side story to it which involves some kind of villain and or legendary Pokemon. This game has some varying biomes which look really nice. The snowy area is lovely, and there's an area where you spend a lot of time just on water. There's some bits of land dotted about. Pokemon has always had a nice variety to its environments to give the Pokemon habitats that would suit their type in. The new thing to this game is the wild area. It's a semi-large area where you can roam freely, and this is where max raids are found. You can travel around this area looking for Pokemon which are usually in specific parts or have specific weather conditions before you see them. Some even need to be at a certain time of day with very specific weather in a very specific part of the wild area. It can be a pain if you really want that monster in question, but can feel pretty riveting when it actually shows up, and when capturing the elusive beast, those excitement or even relief levels can go through the roof. One thing to say is this is the first mainline Pokemon game where the Pokemon are seen wandering about, so you can actually see the creatures running or flying or swimming about. It's great to see, and it's something I've wanted for years. Well, since playing Blue, and seeing it finally happen is terrific. You still have Pokemon appear in the tall grass, which is when that aforementioned elusive ray-timed and weather Pokemon may only appear. One issue with the game is how it runs. For the most part, the game is pretty consistent, but when you are connected to the online side of things, the game runs pretty bad in the wild area, and get a little choppy elsewhere. The wild area can be a little choppy on occasion, where it seemingly lags due to the frame rate dipping, but it's not that bad and is barely noticeable a lot of the time. But playing online and it's a lag fest in the wild area. It's honestly not good and can detract from the game, though mileage will vary from person to person. For me, it was annoying. The audio is really good. All the moves have wonderful accompanying sounds, with sound effects in general being clear and distinct enough to realise what the sound effect is signalling after you hear it a few times. The battle music in the game is great too. Genuinely good to listen to and mostly really enjoyable. Even the stadium battle theme for the gym leaders, which, to be honest, I don't actually like, is a perfect fit to the stadium battles and really captures the feel and intensity of a big sport event with a stadium full of eager fans. The music in the overworld is really varied and well made, and again very fitting for the locations. For example, you start in a small little town and the music is mellow, relaxing, and it kind of emphasises that this place is a sleepy little village. You soon head into a foggy, wooded area, where the music changes to become more mysterious, and you get the feeling of unease and the sense of something foreboding is awaiting. Afterwards, you finally head to Route 1, and it starts bouncy and super upbeat, signifying this is it. This is going to be the journey that you've been waiting for. This is the beginning. Onward to glory. The music is really good in all aspects, and I can't really find fault with it. It is somewhat disappointing that only Pikachu and Eevee have the anime cries instead of the odd cries that are made in game, though I only say somewhat, as I do like the more animalistic noises as well. Why do I, every time I see him, it looks like he's straining for a poo? The designs of Pokemon have been great over the last few generations. Yes, every generation has duds. I just found that the quality was screwed for the better in earlier generations, and as the generations kept coming, the skew went the other way. Many Pokemon were not very nice to look at, or were completely daft, or simply too busy with too much going on. For me, this generation has introduced many Pokemon that are genuinely cool, or interesting, or cute. The designs seem much better than the last few generations. When you compare bad to good designs, the ratio again is skewed towards Pokemon just being better. I'm not saying that this has no bad Pokemon, or that later gens that came before this one were all awful. As I said, each generation has some bad and also some good Pokemon. Some of the designs in this for new Pokemon are really interesting. Look at Sinesti. It's a really funny teacup Pokemon that fits perfectly with the Galar region, and the fact it is based on the UK. I actually like the Pokemon, but I have to say I hate it because I don't like tea. There's also a fair few Pokemon based around rock. You only have to look at Toxtricity with its low-key and amped-up forms, amped up being based around the guitar, and low-key being based around the bass. Rillaboom, another Pokemon, is based around drumming, and so on. You also have a Galarian form of Zigzagoon, being much more interesting than the original form and evolves in Obstragoon, which is very fitting with the rock theme. All in all, the designs are just better than the last few generations. Pokemon is a franchise I've played since the release of Red and Blue. Just to let you know, I did have the superior blue version. Anyway, it's a franchise where I have bought most of the mainline games, including the third version when they were a thing. One issue I have is that the franchise is still 2 games. It's not needed, and to be honest, with all the online stuff making it super easy to get all the Pokemon, there's no real need. Maybe it drives sales up, I don't know, but it feels completely unnecessary to me now. And what makes it worse in this game, which is a real bloody annoyance, is that it's not just a few Pokemon that are different. No, they made it so to experience everything you need to play both games, as 2 gyms and their leaders are different in each edition. In Sword you have Bee, the fighting type gym leader, instead of Alistair, the ghost type, along with Geordie, the rock type gym leader in Sword, instead of Melanie, the ice type gym leader in Shield. I guess it's not something that massively changes the story, but it still means to battle each and every gym leader you need to buy both versions of the game, or at least have access to the other version if you have one. I'm unaware if this has happened before, but it's genuinely an awful practice from my point of view, and I hope that this does not become the norm. They could have made it so all 10 were in one game, but only 8 were necessary to beat, leaving 2 optional. Instead, they went down a route that I honestly believe was a decision made with money as the main interest. Pokemon Shield was at points looking like it would be a true evolution to the franchise. But honestly, apart from the wild area and seeing the Pokemon in the overworld, it doesn't really hedge that far forward when there's also quite a lot missing. Which brings me to the Fampy in the room. The removal of a few hundred Pokemon. For me personally, I'm not actually that bothered by it. It is a little disappointing, and getting the 400 Pokemon in the game, for me, was very easy. More so with how easy it is to trade online now, with certain sites helping people to trade also. Full Pokédex wouldn't really have been too much to obtain for those reasons. At the end of the day, for me, it's a non-issue when looking at the game. Not everyone will feel the same, and that's fine. Not everyone has to agree or even like the same thing. I just want to say that it doesn't really affect me to a degree where I'd mark the game down for it. With all that said and done, I did enjoy the game quite a lot. I just wish it did more to improve on what came before it. And that's my main criticism. It's that it's fundamentally treading the same ground and offering little in the way of truly expanding on what came before it. But it's still an enjoyable romp. It's better than your average game, but it's not great. But I do still think it's rather good. So I'm going with 7 Pugsleys out of 10. Well, they didn't put a crown on her, but they definitely got the queen in there. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe.